Supreme Court rulings and anticipated deliveries of passports and IEC invitations coming your way. We'll give you the details you need to know. You're watching My Consultant. In this week's episode, we're covering the latest IEC invitations. Next, updated passport delivery times, followed by a recent backlog increase. Stay with us as Tina breaks down the population hike, and I'll explain the Supreme Court of Canada's SCTA ruling. This week's episode of My Consultant is brought to you by Scotiabank.
The International Experience Canada, that is IEC 2023 draw, sent over 1,500 work permit invitations this month. There are three categories under the International Experience Canada: the young professionals, the working holiday, and the international co-op. The working holiday category candidates received nearly 1,300 invitations. The young professional candidates received 156 invitations, and the international co-op category candidates received 48 invitations. The International Experience Canada 2023 has a quota of 90,000 for this year.
Big news from Service Canada. Having no more backlogs, passport deliveries have finally returned to pre-pandemic processing times. Passport processing times were heavily impacted by the 2-week PCAS strike of public service workers, first demonstrated on April 19th of this year. As of today, all service delays are resolved. Service Canada is back to delivering all passports within the 10 to 20 day targets, with approximately 98% of passports issued within service standards regardless of intake method. Passport staff are able to handle the first wave of passport renewals with a validity of 10 years that was first started being issued in July of 2013. Canadians who require their passport in less than 10 business days must visit a passport office that offers express or urgent pickup service and pay for expedited services.
The recent data from IRCC shows that the applications backlog has increased since April this year. In April, there were around 809,000 applications in backlog. The figure included temporary resident applications, permanent resident applications, and citizenship grants. The recent data reveals that in June, the number of applications in backlog had increased to 820,000. As of May 31st, Canada has already welcomed 221,000 permanent residents, which IRCC says is on the track to achieving Canada's 2023 target of inviting 465,000 permanent residents.
Victory for the federal government? Yes. For those seeking asylum, not so much. In a unanimous vote, the Supreme Court of Canada has ruled that the STCA, the Safe Third Country Agreement, is constitutional, meaning the federal government is in its full right to continue the practice of returning asylum seekers who are trying to enter Canada from the United States. Signed in 2004, the STCA recognizes both Canada and the United States as safe countries for migrants. Asylum seekers must apply for asylum in the first safe country they arrive in, meaning asylum seekers attempting to enter Canada from the United States through non-official land entries are eligible to be sent back. During the court proceedings, refugee advocates argued that the agreement violates the rights of asylum seekers under the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, such as their right to life, liberty, and security, and their right to equal treatment. They explained that those who are returned to the U.S. face poor detention conditions and risk a high possibility of being forcibly sent back to their country of origin. Co-executive director at the Canadian Council for Refugees told reporters that the U.S. is not a safe country for refugees, and our organizations have brought overwhelming evidence that sending people who are seeking safety here back to the U.S. causes serious violations of rights that are protected both under the Canadian Charter and international law. Ultimately, the judges rejected these arguments. Immigration Minister Sean Fraser assured the government is not opposed to asylum claims, as the country has resettled more refugees than any other country in 2022. He adds, Canada's capital of Ottawa just wants migrants to come through normal pathways. Refugee claimants arriving at an official land port of entry to Canada from the U.S. are deemed ineligible for refugee protection. Canadian government lawyers defend this, saying the U.S. is a democracy with a well-functioning immigration system that respects international law.
Thanks to immigration, Canada's population has surpassed 40 million people. According to Statistics Canada, as of June 16, 2023, there are now 40 million Canadians. This is a historic milestone for Canada. Canada's population growth rate currently stands at 2.7%. That's the highest annual growth Canada has ever seen since 1957, when the country was in the middle of its post-war baby boom. The population growth is majorly driven by immigration. The number of Indigenous people in the country is growing as well, increasing by 9.4% from 2016 to 2021. Canada's population grew by 1.05 million last year, and 96% of the rise was due to international migration. Canada welcomed over 437,000 immigrants in 2022, reflecting Canada's high immigration targets. Immigration accounts for almost 100% of Canada's labour force growth. According to IRCC, by 2023, immigrants are projected to be about 30% of Canada's population. There are nearly 1 million job vacancies in Canada and a shortage of skilled labour due to its aging workforce. It is expected that by 2030, over 9 million people in Canada will reach the retirement age of 65. Almost 75% of Canada's population growth comes from immigration, mostly in the economic sector. To boost its young population, Canada has been striving to invite higher number of immigrants in the recent years. If the current trends continue, Canada's population could reach 50 million by 2043. That's all for today. Thank you so much for joining us this week. If you are looking for more information and updates about Canada immigration, then please subscribe to our My Consultant YouTube channel. You can also visit our website myconsultant.ca, where you can find an authorized immigration and citizenship consultant. I am Tina Batra.
And I'm Tashina Thompson, and we'll see you next week.